My name is Raelynn Lin, and I build things, numbers, systems, boundaries. I used to think discipline could protect what you build. That belief cracked the Sunday I saw my mother live streaming from inside my building. It was supposed to be quiet. I was reviewing an audit when my cousin called. "Ray, Aunt Irene's hosting dinner in your lofts. She's giving everyone a floor." I laughed until I saw the link. On screen, the lobby of 120 Harbor Row glowed with balloons and folding tables. My mother's voice rang out. "Colton gets the 3rd floor. Brielle can have the 2nd. Thomas and I will take the penthouse. Ray doesn't need much space. She works from home." Behind her, relatives were sticking notes on doors like they owned the place. My hand froze on the mouse. Then I called my property manager and my attorney. "Bring the documents," I said. "And security." By the time dessert was served, my legal team and I would be at that table too. The building shimmered under a bruised sky when I arrived. My manager stood by the curb, uneasy. "They've been inside for 2 hours, he said. "Said they were family, had keys." "It's fine," I told him. My attorney Elijah arrived, calm, composed. "You're sure he asked?" "Yes. But we record everything." Inside, laughter spilled down the stairs. The smell of roast chicken mixed with cheap wine. On the 2nd floor, 15 relatives were eating, laughing, taping notes to walls. My mother stood in the center with a clipboard. "Perfect timing," she said. "We're just finalizing who gets which space." For what I asked. "For the family division, dear. Colton's studio. Brielle's suite, our penthouse. You can have the retail floor, you don't need much." Her tone was soft, maternal, weaponized. Elijah placed his briefcase on the table. "Mrs. Lin, this is private property under Miss Lin's full ownership. Everyone needs to vacate immediately." "Ownership?" my mother echoed. "Ray built this with family money." "You gave me $20,000 8 years ago," I said. "I repaid it with interest." She frowned. "Still family shares?" "No. Family supports. Ownership is earned." Colton laughed. "You sound like a landlord." "That's exactly what I am." Elijah spread the documents like cards of proof, title deeds, registrations, leases. My father squinted. "You bought this through your company?" "Yes. Harbor and Stone Properties. My own earnings. No co-investor." Silence. The room's energy shifted. They weren't just inside my building. They were inside a boundary I'd forgotten to lock. "Ray, you're overreacting," Mom said, voice sharp with condescension. "This building is too big for one person. Why not let it become a family place?" "This isn't a commune," I replied. "It's a commercial property. You don't assign apartments by bloodline." Colton's tone hardened. "You wouldn't have this if we hadn't helped. I paid back every cent. Money isn't everything," he snapped. "Then share the work," I said. "Because blessings didn't fall from the sky, they came from the ground," I broke. The word breaking changed the air. Elijah's voice was cool. "For the record, everyone here entered without authorization. This is trespass." My mother's face flushed. "We're not criminals. We're her family." "Family doesn't override ownership law," Elijah replied. Brielle sighed. "Can't you let Mom and Dad have the top floor?" "They're getting old." You ever asked how I got these buildings? I said, quietly. You think success just appeared? I worked every weekend, fixed plumbing myself, lived in half-renovated rooms. I wasn't gifted. I was exhausted. Dad said family should share blessings, then share the labor. I answered. Elijah closed his case. Unless anyone wants to sign a rental agreement, you'll need to leave. One by one, they filed out past the documents and truth they hadn't expected to face. When the last footsteps faded, I stared at the sticky notes left behind. It hit me then this wasn't dinner. It was a rehearsal for a takeover, and I had just canceled opening night. The next morning, my phone exploded with messages. Mom, you called security on your own mother. Colton, you humiliated us. Brielle. My kids cried all night. I muted the thread. For years, they'd called my work hobby projects. Now, suddenly, they were experts on ethics. Deshawn, my manager, came by with a box, measuring tape, painter's tape, my mother's bowl. Keep them, I said. Evidence. Change all locks, I added. Digital access only. That night, I walked the halls, each turn of the key an ending and a beginning. Elijah waited in the lobby. They might try again, he warned. Let them. Later, a ping from the new security system attempted entry denied. On the camera feed, my mother stood at the door, old key in hand. She punched random numbers, then knocked once on the glass. When police arrived, she left quietly. Watching from my monitor, I didn't feel triumphant, just hollow. By morning, cousins were posting online. Some people choose property over blood, but my cousin Jada texted privately. Don't let them rewrite it. I smiled faintly. Someone still believed in facts. That night, I looked out over the harbor. The building below hummed, locked, secure mine. The same walls that once echoed with family laughter now carried only the sound of my breathing, and it sounded like peace. 3 weeks later, a courier brought a lawsuit my family suing for implied partnership. Elijah skimmed the papers, almost amused. No records, no proof. They're bluffing. They want a story, I said, where they're victims of my ambition. When the court day came, the judge asked, Do you have any documentation? My mother's voice quivered. No, Your Honor, but we're family. We trusted her. The judge closed the file. Case dismissed. Plaintiffs to pay legal fees. Outside, Colton hissed. You really made them pay, I didn't. The court did. You're heartless. No, I said. I'm consistent. That night, the family chat roared back. Mom, you destroyed this family over money. Brielle hope your buildings keep you warm. I muted it again. The silence was cleaner than victory. A week later, Elijah emailed case, fully closed. Boundaries work. I printed it, framed it, hung it beside the property title. That evening, the cafe owner smiled as she locked up. Feels safer here lately, she said. Safer. The word lingered. Maybe peace wasn't the absence of conflict, just the presence of a locked door. Months passed quietly. The building found its rhythm again. Sometimes I'd still remember that night, my mother's clipboard, the smell of takeout chicken. Then spring came and Colton emailed Olive Branch. Maybe I could help manage one of your properties. All positions filled, I replied. Days later, Brielle texted, any apartments with a family discount, market rate only. I wrote back. Then Dad called. Maybe we could partner on something. Rebuild the bridge. If the bridge only exists to reach my bank account, I said it's not really a bridge. Each contact came dressed as reconciliation, but underneath it was still negotiation access disguised as affection. So I stopped waiting for apologies, stopped checking the family chat. Holidays passed quietly. And for once, quiet didn't feel lonely. It felt earned. One night, I remembered being 12, standing outside an apartment we'd been evicted from. My mother crying, my father cursing the landlord, and me thinking, someday I'll own the keys. That memory used to drive me. Now it humbled me. Because maybe that girl would have still opened the door. But that girl hadn't yet learned that love without respect is dependency in disguise. And I'd kept my promise to her and to myself. A magazine later featured me, from numbers to neighborhoods, how Raelynn Lin built an empire from precision. They photographed me alone, the building behind me. My mother called the editor to complain they didn't mention family support. The editor emailed me. We print verified facts only. I laughed quietly. For once, someone else had drawn a boundary for me. A year passed since that Sunday dinner. No calls, no texts. The silence was a gift. That morning I walked through 120 Harbor Row tenants, chatting sunlight flooding through glass. Everything working as it should. On my wall hung Elijah's framed words, "Boundaries work." That afternoon, a letter arrived, lavender-scented, in my mother's cursive. Ray, I hope you're well. Maybe someday we can talk without lawyers or locks. Love, Mom. I read it twice. The daughter in me felt something tender. The woman she raised felt something else. I placed it in a drawer, not thrown away, just stored. That evening, I watched the harbor lights ripple across the water. I thought about what boundaries really meant, not walls, but clarity. People think revenge feels like fire. To me, it felt like construction laying new foundations after the old ones cracked. My family had divided a home that was never theirs. I had reclaimed something far bigger, my peace. Then my phone buzzed, Jada's text. Happy 1-year lock-versary. Thanks, I typed. Still locked, still peaceful. Keep it that way, she replied. Outside, the harbor lights shimmered like scattered keys, and I realized home wasn't the building. It was the boundary around my dignity. I finished my wine, turned off the lights, and let the city glow take over. I didn't need to crash anyone's dinner to prove what was mine. All I had to do was lock the door and never apologize for keeping it closed.